is Jessica, and I will be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this webinar through Cisco WebEx events, and the audio can be heard through your PC or by calling into the phone number listed and with the access code provided in your confirmation email or calendar invite for this event. Today's webinar is being recorded on behalf of DataVox, and participation in this event indicates your consent to being included in that recording. All attendees will receive an email with the link to the completed recording 24 to 48 hours post-event. If you have questions for the presenters at any time during this presentation, you may submit those questions via the Q&A feature to the bottom right of your screen. This should already be turned on. Simply click Q&A and the text box will appear. Our panel will be responding to these questions throughout the presentation via text and will respond verbally at the conclusion of the presentation. If you are in need of support or have a question not pertaining to today's topic, please utilize the chat feature and I will be happy to assist you. This feature is separate from the Q&A feature and can be turned on by clicking the chat bubble in the lower center of your screen. Now that we have reviewed the features of this webinar and you guys are able to hear me, we would like to start off today's presentation with a few words from our Director of Physical Security at DataVox, Scott Ferguson. Scott, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, Jessica, could you repeat that one more time? I'm just joking. Thank you, Jessica, for the intro. This is our second day in a row that her and I have had to work together, so it's been great, and we're working on the trifecta for the end of this week. You've obviously done a great job putting these together, and I really appreciate it. We all really appreciate it. Hello and good morning, everybody. Like Jessica said, my name is Scott Ferguson, and I'm the Director of Physical Security at DataVox. We also have Mike Bebchek, who will be joining the call, who's our Vice President here. I wanted to personally thank you guys, each and every one of you, for attending our webinar series. We have two more of these scheduled this week. The next one this afternoon is Arctic Wolf, who will be covering cybersecurity for your suddenly remote workforce. And then we also have Verkada with video surveillance in the cloud, and that is tomorrow, I believe, at 10 a.m. And I appreciate you guys. We do have like Jessica said, we have a long list of webinar series that we're going to be hosting throughout the end of this month. Probably will continue into May, so you guys can jump on, and we would really appreciate it. Today's webinar is with Rob and Brian from Openpath. They're going to be discussing hands-free frictionless access control. Your phone is a new credential. And I want to turn it over to Rob and Brian. And remember, Rob is very funny, so he can probably have a lot of jokes and all sorts of things throughout the webinar. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me, Scott? Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So, my name is Rob Leaf, and I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Openpath. We are a U.S.-based access control company. We're located in California. Everything we have is made in the United States. All of our hardware is made in the U.S., and all the code that we write is also made in the U.S. We don't outsource anything. All of our hardware comes with a lifetime warranty. So I cover a 5-state region. I've covered Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Kansas. And I've also got Brian DeSurwong with me, who is my inside sales counterpart. So if you guys have questions, feel free to type those into the chat, and Brian can kind of feed those to me as we go through things. So I'm going to pull up a few PowerPoint slides just to give you guys a little bit of overview about our company and kind of show you a little bit about how the topology works with Openpath and tell you the story about our company, because it's actually kind of a unique story. So let me share my screen here. If you just a sec. Brian, give me a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint, please. All right, great. So the background about Openpath, we have a really unique group of founders. So the core group of executives at Openpath, they've been together for a number of years. And one of the guys I wanted to highlight is Sammy Kamkar. He's our Chief Security Officer. The background about Sammy, and just to kind of give you some insight into how secure we are literally going to be by far the most secure access control platform that you've ever worked with or you've ever seen. Sammy Kamkar is a really, really well-known white hat hacker. At the age of 16, Sammy went to work for the federal government. He designed and wrote what's now known as the Ever Cookie, which was uncovered by Edward Snowden. Sammy left his life with the federal government, I think when he was 19, and Sammy and Alex and James, they started a company called EdgeCast, where they routed and control about 15% of the world's data packets on the internet. A number of years ago, they sold that company to Verizon, but before they did that, they had about 58 data centers all over the world. And that caused a problem for them because they literally had a Ziploc bag full of credentials for all the different facilities that they managed. And they thought that there should be a better way to get into their building instead of trying to navigate all these cards. And there's issues with it. There's issues with the experience. There's issues with losing cards. Take, for example, that Verizon card that was actually Alex's personal credential. If that card gets lost and it's a badged printed credential, it literally says what building that card is a key to. Furthermore, a lot of the access control, the majority of the access control physical credentials, so the cards or fobs, are actually clonable now. Anything that's running 125 kilohertz prox frequency is clonable. You can literally go to a Randall store and there's a machine up front, and for $5 you can copy that credential. So what we tried to do is we tried to tackle it two ways. We tackled it through hardware and through software. But our big breakthrough is we're the first company that's natively built to use your phone as the credential. There are other companies that use your phone as a credential, but that's all it does. We have things like two-factor authentication built into our mobile app. I'm able to trigger lockdowns. Really all the things that you're going to need to do on a common basis to interact with your access control system as an end user, you're going to be able to do directly from your phone. And furthermore, what's really different about us is we have a triple unlock patent. And what we do is when I go up and I show intent to the reader, which I'll show you here in a second with a reader and sitting in front of me, we have a triple unlock patented. And what happens is I show intent to the reader sends out a Bluetooth burst, and then the phone is going to answer via Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular data. Every transaction, every time all three data paths are utilized, and they literally erase. And whatever gets there first is going to be my primary method of unlock, and the other two are going to be discarded. So let's talk a little bit about touch, and I'll show you some videos, and I'll show you the real thing here in a second. But I can just literally wave my hand in front of a reader. Where you see that white circle there on that picture on the left, we have a capacitive touch sensor and a motion detector built into the reader. So all we need to do, it's kind of almost like Star Trek. We just want to signal intent to that reader, and then the reader's going to wake up the phone. The phone doesn't have to be open or unlocked, and the app doesn't have to be open. And we can also change the read range of that reader. So as long as the phone's in your pocket or it's in your purse, you're going to have access to that door without doing anything. So here's kind of a video to kind of show you how Openpath works. You can literally just go up, wave your hand in front of the reader, and you're going to be going in. This can also be triggered from the phone app if you choose to give somebody access to do that. And what we found is we've actually got 94% of our customers are using our mobile credential. We still support physical card credentials. There's still a lot of legacy hardware out there, and we do support that. But over 90% of our customers have switched using the phone as the credential. And we also include 500 mobile credentials with each one of our systems at no charge. And you compare that to a $5 to $10 credential times 500. That's going to be a big savings right out of the gate. And furthermore, those mobile credentials are they're recyclable. So if you get a new phone, all you do is check your email on the new phone. It reprovisions the new phone and moves that credential to the old phone. And I'll talk about kind of the enrollment process in a little bit more detail in a minute. Let's talk about physical credentials for a second. So we do work with standard cards and fobs. We can read almost every frequency of card credential on our readers. That being said, if it's a frequency that we can't read, we can still work with 99% of other manufacturers' readers as well. This slide's going to give you a snapshot, really, of the parts and pieces that are an Openpath system. The heart of the system is going to be that black box sitting up in the top right-hand corner. That's what we call our smart hub. It comes in a life safety power enclosure. It has our controller board in it, and it reports to the cloud. So we're totally cloud hosted. There's no server on site that's got to be managed. We're hosted on Amazon, And each one of those smart hubs that you place out in the field is going to report up to the cloud. And then we have our cloud-hosted software. It doesn't matter what operating system you're running or what browser. I'm running a Mac today on Brave, and it's going to look the same as if I was on a Windows machine in Edge or Explorer. And then what you're seeing there on the left is our readers. We make a couple different flavors, and I'll go into that in just a second. Let's talk about the cloud-managed software just a little bit. I talked about being able to access it across any platform. But what's nice about this is there's no server-client relationship. So there's no software that you've got to load on your machine, and if you don't have access to that machine, you don't have the ability to log in. Good example. Scott this morning, his laptop died, and he's on a backup laptop. If he was getting into his Openpath system, it would be exactly the same as if he was on his normal laptop. And I have the ability to do multi-site management and zone sharing. Those are things I'm going to show when we get to the software for just a minute. Another thing that we've done is we've really tried to look ahead. And we have a large integration base right now, features and products, things like single sign-on that we're integrated with, and I'll talk about those. But we also built in the ability to do integrations in the future. We have a totally open API that's published on our website. We have the ability to interface with webhooks, and we have all those other modern standards. So there's apps that you're going to want to integrate with 2 to 3 years from now that have not been written yet. And we're going to give you the ability to do that. You have the ability to see real-time dashboards, all the comings and goings of your business. And we'll show that during the software portion. Real briefly, let's go into the hardware part of it. One of the things when we started Openpath is we took a look at what was on the existing buildings that we had. And it wasn't anything that we wanted to look at. We wanted something aesthetically more pleasing than what's been kind of the standard brick format in the industry. And this is what we made. It's a sexy looking reader. It's a very low profile reader. It comes in black and it comes in white. It comes in 2 different sizes. Outdoor rated. It can absolutely be put out in the Texas weather, no problem. And we kind of designed it so it looks right, really, regardless of your building. And it comes with a super, super thin profile. It's only 11 millimeters from the wall. So what you see here, this is a list of all the flavors that we make of our reader, and really kind of the point of this slide is it doesn't matter what frequency or what physical form factor you want, we're going to be able to work with it. And all of our readers are able to work with all the legacy credentials that you see over in the right-hand side there. And while I think our reader is a much better reader, I used to work for HID, which is kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the reader market. I left because I thought Openpath made a better reader. We're technology disruptive, and I'm going to show you some things that nobody else can do. But that being said, maybe if you're in a building and you've got legacy readers, we can still take those readers over as well. So we can work with what's called a Wiegand input, which is what 99% of those devices that you see on the screen are going to output. There on the left-hand side, you see our single-door controller, our 4-door controller in the picture below that. And then that's our enclosure. We can put up to 6 boards per enclosure, so for up to 24 readers per enclosure right now. But we are about to release a bigger board, so that capacity is going to go up for a single size footprint. This is what the topology is going to look like for the Openpath system. That black box in the center is going to represent the smart hub. And really all that smart hub needs is it's going to wire to the readers using a Cat 5 or Cat 6 reader. And you're going to plug it Ethernet into a switch, 110 power, and it's on. We ship our boards ready to go. Literally, as soon as they're plugged in the network, they already know which customer they're assigned to, and they phone home. And what's nice about Openpath as well is we don't need to open a single port inbound when we do a deployment. Talk about the integrations a little bit. I boasted earlier about our open architecture, and we have native integrations with single sign-on systems such as G Suite, Active Directory, and Okta. I'll show you what those look like. But when I say native, we literally have a link to your Microsoft account. You click the Microsoft icon, and you log into your Active Directory account. We've got integrations with things such as Envoy, which is an iPad-based visitor management app, Slack, which is a business communication tool similar to Skype for Business, Milestone, which is a enterprise-level VMS platform, video surveillance, Rhombus, which is a cloud-hosted video surveillance platform, Butterfly MX, it's a video intercom, integrations with Salesforce, And this is just a snapshot. We're constantly adding these integrations. Another thing we built natively into both our browser interface and our app is the ability to trigger a lockdown. I can trigger a lockdown via zone. So in this picture, we're kind of representing maybe a small school campus. I can lock down individual buildings, or I can do a global lockdown, and I can decide who has access to lock maybe on just their building. So for example, we did Houston-Tillotson University up here in Austin, and the RAs have the ability to lock down their individual dorms, but only security, IT, and administrative professionals have the ability to lock down the campus globally. And then only the director of IT or the director of security have the ability to revert the lockdown. In addition to the mobile app and the browser, we can also trigger lockdowns via inputs through things like a gunshot detector or a physical panic button as well. We also have the ability to do a reverse lockdown, where we can unlock everything, which is probably one of the most common things that we're going to experience here in Texas. We're right smack dab in the middle of tornado season right now. I know today in Austin we're expecting some pretty rockin' thunderstorms a little bit later. So reverse lockdown. Let's unlock everything so people can come in and shelter if they need to. And the last slide I want to show you is kind of our success. So we've been selling products to the public for about 2 years. This slide's already a little out of date. We're closer to 85 employees now, and I think we're up to 10 patents. But you can see the amount of users and the amount of unlocks that we're doing on a daily basis. What's nice about Openpath is because we're cloud hosted, we don't have a choke point on the CPU for the local server. So it allows us to scale globally as an enterprise system right out of the box. I can drop those controllers, those smart hub controllers, whether, let's take maybe a 5-story building. I could drop one on each story, and it's going to behave the same to me in the software as if those were 5 different buildings in 5 different states. So bear with me here. I'm going to close out of the PowerPoint and go over to the browser. If you go to our website, which is openpath.com, we've got some videos right on the main landing page that'll kind of highlight what you've seen today. And you can go in and you can see our hardware, our software. We've got installation manuals and some great FAQs. And feel free to reach out to Brian or myself. You can call this number direct, or we'll share our contact information at the end as well. Brian, if you don't mind typing it in the chat, that would be awesome. Okay, so let's go into our software. So what you're seeing here, this is my main activity landing dashboard. I can see all the doors that I have out in the field, and I can see real time what's happening in those. So we can see that I locked my demo door 27 minutes ago. I can see Graham locked his sales demo, so he's probably doing a webinar as well within the last minute. Here on the entry tab, I can see a list of all the doors that I have access to, and I can even fire outputs and unlock doors from this screen as well. That beep you just heard was my demo door unlocking here to my right. So as a matter of fact, let's show you real quick kind of the Smart Hub in action. Now, if you look at my video screen, this is what our Smart Hub looks like. And as you'd expect, I've got the ability to use a standard card and open that door. But really, what makes Openpath different is I've got the ability to walk up and just wave my hand in front of it, and that's how I unlock the door. As long as I've got my phone with me, that's how I can unlock it without having to keep up with that key. So let's go back to kind of focusing now on my screen. So in addition to be able to fire and unlock doors here, I also have the ability to do remote troubleshooting. I can see a list of all the hardware that I have out in the field. I can see not only the status of my boards, but I can see the status of my readers. I can do things like restart and identify communication devices as well. So if I've got maybe 4 readers going into the same building and they weren't labeled correctly, this can help me identify that. Let's talk about user management real quick. That's going to be one of the most common things that you guys are going to need to do in an access control system. To add a new user, I can do it 3 ways. I'll pull up my own account here as an example. If you notice, I'm able to just do a quick search and filter there. So to add a new user, all you do is enter in their email address, first name and last name. You can upload a photo if you'd like. And then you go to the Credentials tab, and all you do is click send. And then what happens for the end user is they get sent an email prompting them to download the app and click an enrollment button, and that's all they have to do. Their phone is automatically loaded and provisioned for the doors that they have access to. Alternatively, I can also grant people the ability from the app to download a cloud key. And what this does is allows me to create on the fly a web page that I can share. I can text or email this to give someone temporary guest access. So, for example, I sent right before we started this demo, I set up from my app a cloud key. So I can text or email this app, and maybe it's Saturday, and I've got a plumbing emergency, and I'm not at the facility. I can text someone a self-expiring temporary link for a single door or a series of doors. And even though they've never seen Openpath, it's literally just like you would share any other link, except all they have is access to these two buttons here. Let's go back into user management here. This is where I would add a card. And then I choose which access and which level of security I'm going to grant that person. And it's just that simple. I literally just turn on doors. But let's say I've got, maybe I've got more than 10 or 15 users, and I don't want to manually input each one of those users. We also natively support the ability to upload a CSV file from Excel. You can populate some or all of these fields, and you can bulk upload users in batches up to 500. And then they're all going to automatically receive that enrollment email to download the app and provision their phone. But let's say we're a much larger company. Maybe we got 10,000 employees. And maybe we have 6 or 7 new hires or terminations every single day. That's going to be a lot of legwork for somebody to manage. So I mentioned the single sign-on integrations. This is our integrations tab. I've got integrations with G Suite, Active Directory, and Okta out of the box. And when I say natively, that's how we do an integration. You don't need to write the API integration. If something changes, it's not going to break. You literally log into your Microsoft account and sync the two data, and we sync with your Active Directory database. Here, while I'm on the integrations tab, we talked about most of these. This is Envoy, which is an iPad-based visitor management app, and a couple of others. Density, which is another product that DataVox sells, is a anti-tailgating device, kind of like we also use for people counting. And let's show reports here a little bit. Obviously, the most common thing I'm going to need to do is see who's been coming and going from the system. So we can see here right on top, we can see that I issued a cloud key for the DataVox demo, and I unlocked it through the browser. I can sort and filter from the screen. So if I want to see all my recent activity, with 2 clicks, I can sort and filter by which door I want to interface with and which user, and then I can export directly to a CSV from this screen. So literally in 2 to 3 clicks, I can be as granular or as broad brush as I need to be in reporting my data. Some of the most common other reports that are really easy here to see, I've got a portal audit report. I can go in through and see who's made administrative changes to the system. We haven't had any administrative changes today, but we can go back 24 hours and search it. And now we can get in, we can get extremely granular and see even down to a code level what's been changed in the software if we need to go back and do any forensic investigation into changes in the system. Another common thing that we're going to need to do is who's got access to the back door. I can literally I'll choose my demo door here, and I can see a list of all the people that have access to this door. I can also run reports individual by users or by entries as well. This is a demo system. Usually I would do this part of the demo in our office, but there's nobody there in California right now. From the administration side of things, we have custom alerts. I can set up SMS, text, and email notifications for all these events. It's literally as simple as just typing in someone's email address or phone number here. We also have support built in natively from the app and the browser as well. So as an end user, you have the ability to contact Openpath at any time. The number is literally, you click the hamburger menu inside the app and you can call our support page. And we're about 30 minutes and I want to keep it fairly brief, high level, but that's pretty much an overview of Openpath. Brian, do we have some questions that maybe we want to answer right now? You're muted, Brian.
Nothing in yet. If anyone wants to take this time to ask any questions, feel free.
Scott, did you have some questions? I can't hear you, Scott, if you're talking.
I think I see a question in the Q&A box down there, Brian.
Yeah, so Clinton asks, how do you combat people wearing their badges if they're allowed to access the building with a phone?
So really, kind of the point of Openpath is kind of getting away from the physical badge. It's going to be the same situation as if you're using the badge for a credential. You'd have to have somebody there enforcing that. When I worked at HID, we had someone that's literally their sole job is to sit in the front of the building and enforce people to wear that badge. And if you wanted to, you can also restrict it.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, if you wanted to, for a university campus, we have multiple instances. If you don't want to use the phone, you can still use the card as the credential and still force them to use a physical badge.
Okay, so I have a few more questions here for us. Like I said, I think you've answered a lot of these, Rob, throughout your presentation, but just wanted to make sure that these were covered. Talked about Active Directory integration. Can you help us maybe explain how that works?
Yeah, so the Active Directory integration, it is an a la carte charge, and it allows you to real-time sync users from a security group that you've already set up in Active Directory, and those users are going to automatically populate, and their rights will automatically be rescinded within Openpath. So as you make a new hire, they're automatically going to receive that email for enrollment, and as you make a termination, that the rights inside Openpath are automatically going to be removed. Their account will still be there for reporting purposes, but their credential will be removed. Very similar with Okta and with G Suite as well.
Got it. Thank you, Rob.
You bet. And then it also allows you to choose who has access to the portal. Obviously, only administrators are going to have access to the portal software side of things. Standard users are just going to have the phone or card credential, like a normal access control system.
Okay. Another question is, if I already have an access control system installed at my office, employees already have badges, can I add Openpath to my old system and run both, meaning like a credential and a phone as a credential?
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute. So if you have an existing access control system, we can approach the takeover in a couple different ways. Number one, you can just remove the old hardware panels and put in Openpath panels and leave your existing reader and credentials in place, and we can take those over. So we can also run on standard 6-strand banana peel access control cable, not just Cat5, Cat6. So we can just take over those existing users. Maybe you don't have the budget to switch fully to mobile yet, and then later down the road, you could replace those readers with Openpath readers and then have the ability to use the phone. Alternatively, we can also do what's called a weekend pass-through, and we can basically sit in parallel to an existing access control system if you just wanted to add the ability to be mobile as well. We can pass through credentialing and mimic being a standard card, although you're actually using the phone.
Got it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
What if I have multiple locations? What does this look like?
Yeah, good one. I didn't cover that. Thank you. Let me go back to my screen share here. So here in the top right-hand corner, I have the ability to switch between zones or facilities. So we can break this out where you can virtually move those smart hubs into individual places. So if we had a college campus, we might have 5 or 6 different building icons here, one for each building. Or we could break it down for maybe, like say Texas A&M, for example. They've got multiple facilities. So you could have a main campus here and break these down. And then you can do zone sharing in between. So users, an end user would have no idea that it's virtually broken out into different systems. So right now I'm in my sales demo system, but if I want to log into our California headquarters building, all I do is click that icon, and I'm now in our California system. I'm able to go in and I can interact with the users that are here in the California system. I can also go in, I can see my sites, I can see my entry management. Here's a list of all the doors. Another thing we didn't talk about is while I'm showing you how to hop in between different multiple sites, I can also change the read range on these readers, and it allows me to do a number of different things. I can blend a door between security and convenience. So not that I'm advocating any of these paths, but just to let you know what we can do, I can set a door up for auto proximity unlock. So maybe if we have a remote gate application, as soon as the vehicle comes within 50 feet of that gate, it's going to automatically unlock. We do that for one of our energy customers. We do that for a place called Park Place Motors, which has the majority of the luxury dealerships up in the Dallas area. It allows their employees, as they shuttle cars around, to access the gates without having to have a physical credential in each one of those vehicles. As long as they've got their phone, they can hop between vehicle and vehicle and have access. I can also set a door up where I can go up and I can swipe my hand in front of it to show intent, or I can force someone to open the app and unlock it directly from the app as well. And then I can change the read range all the way from about 100 feet all the way down to about 1 inch. I can get as incremental as I want. So right now, this reader is set up for long touch. I can take that down to about 1 foot range. So I'm going to leave it defaulted where it is. Good question, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. As we filter through some of these questions, I wanted to go over a couple ways some of our customers have used Openpath today. One of our customers was struggling with managing the credentials. So employees and contractors, they were either losing their cards, leaving their cards at home, you kind of name it. They needed a way to fix this, right? I mean, time is money, and the company was large enough that it was a part-time job just managing the credentials and making sure that the employees were able to get access to certain doors, even though that, they're mandated to have a credential on them at all times. Sometimes it just doesn't always work that way. The person who managed the credentials had to log into the PC, remove the old credential, issue a new one. Once this was completed, they had to either mail the credential, right? Depends if you have multiple locations or where your employees are at. Or they had to have the individual come to the office to receive the badge. So obviously this is not ideal, but this is the way that typical access control systems are managed today. That's what we see in the industry. We've seen this it's been around for decades, and not much has changed until the last probably few years. With Openpath, they wanted to get away from physical credentials and rely on employees to have their phone, right? I mean, you can lose your phone, and I understand that as well, but there's less likelihood that you're going to leave your phone at home. Today we rely so heavily on our phone, whether it's because we're working remotely today or that, a lot of business is conducted on our cell phones today with email and messaging applications, business applications. So now your phone is a credential, and that's the way that they gain access to the building. So I'm glad that we were able to help solve one of their issues that they were having. And there's obviously a lot more that Openpath can do, but simplistically, this was one way that we were able to solve. Another customer had an issue with visitors. So they had an unmanned receptionist desk, and they wanted to give visitors access or contractors access to their lobby to be able to get in and out. You know, if a visitor comes and sees Rob Leaf, that they don't have to get out of their desk or have somebody go fetch the visitor. They can get in. They want to be able to have them get in very easily. So with this Openpath and DataVox, we were able to accomplish this by issuing a temporary access key. So we sent them a temporary access key to their cell phones, and the visitor could gain access to the lobby door, right? And this could be also for contractors as well, giving them access to the electrical room or to the mechanical room, where potentially you don't want to have to issue them a full credential. You can offer them a temporary one that will expire after an X amount of time. And so, you know, not having to manage, get up, move around, stop what you're doing to be able to manage your visitors or contractors was a huge time saving for this customer. So with that, I'll go into a couple other questions that we have. Some of these will be geared towards DataVox, some will be towards Openpath. One was, how quickly can this be installed? I mean, that's another good question. We had this on our last webinar as well, and that is a DataVox question, right? So, you know, obviously this is the hardware software is easily accessible through Openpath today. There is a process that we do have to put in place for access control, where we do have to get permitting done, and depending on what city or county that you live in, it can take a little bit of time. But from a DataVox perspective, we can move very quickly on this. For those who are struggling with managing credentials or are looking to go to a cloud-based solution, we can definitely help you guys with that. Another one was, what does the pricing model look like? And I know, Rob, this is more of a DataVox type question, but maybe like your help answering this one as well. You know, from a hardware perspective, it is a one-time cost. And then maybe I'll let you take it over from the software side, Rob.
Yeah, so from a hardware perspective, it is a one-time cost, and all the hardware is going to come with a lifetime warranty. And because we're cloud hosted with no server on site, there is a monthly charge. Basically, door one, we start out at $20 a month MSRP, and by the time you get to door 11, that goes down to $5 per door per month MSRP, and that's going to give you access to 95% of what Openpath does. The only additional charges we have are for things like single sign-on integration. So if you're going to add an Active Directory integration, there is an additional monthly charge for that. Or if you're going to do a milestone integration, there's an additional charge for that as well. Another thing regarding pricing that's important to point out is we do not have a per seat license. So as many people as you have that you want to give portal access to be administrators, you can do that. Most access control platforms are going to limit you to 2 or 3 open seats, and then you have to pay additionally 4 seats to access the software. And really that's because that's the choke point on the local server, and they're trying to preserve their CPU usage on the server, where we've got we're cloud hosted. So we can literally drop as many boards as we want, and we've got unlimited processing power up in the cloud at Amazon.
Thank you, Rob. Another one that you had covered as well, but I think maybe just going to a little bit more of a detailed explanation, was how do I lock down my facility in an emergency situation? And I think of this as there's a couple different ways to do it, or a couple from a building owner perspective. How do I do this? You know, is it through my mobile phone? Is it through the web browser? Do I give this function to everyone? What is the easiest way, depending on, you know, what it could be for various reasons why I would want to lock down my facility, but what are some of the easier ways for you that you see to accomplish this goal, Rob?
Yeah, well, right now I'm sitting in front of my computer with my mouse. So where I sit right now, it's going to be from the browser. So if you notice here in the top right-hand corner, we have a lockdown icon. I can go through and I can trigger any of these lockdowns. So I just lock down my demo door here sitting next to me, for example. And what's nice about the lockdown is it doesn't matter what screen I'm on. So if you notice here on the left, I'm going throughout the software, but that lockdown button is always going to be in the same place up in the top right-hand corner. I can revert the lockdown from the browser as well. That lockdown can be triggered through a physical panic button. It could be a designated special lockdown card that's swiped to the reader, or I'm having issues sharing my phone screen and all this all at once, so I'll just put this up in front of my camera. Also, here on the phone app, I've also got the lockdown button in the bottom right-hand corner of the app, and no matter what screen I'm on inside the app, it's always there, and I've got the ability to lock down from the app as well.
So John actually asks, just to confirm, if we will need new hardware to work with the Openpath system. Rob, do you want to handle that, or?
Yeah, so readers, no, the readers and the cabling can stay in place. You would just replace the existing panels, or if you wanted to switch to being able to use your phone as the credential, then you would just replace your readers and the panel.
Thank you, Rob. Another question that came through was, so I have traditional hard access control today with multiple locations, and everything is on premise, meaning that they have hardware actually on site that manages the current software. What makes Openpath different from an aspect? I know that and I'm kind of elaborating here a little bit more, but because this is in the cloud, what differentiates being in the cloud versus on-premise?
So the first thing is going to be that you don't have a physical local server that you've got to manage. You don't have a database there on site that you've got to manage. You don't have a firewall there that you've got to protect, keep your system safe. We're TLS encrypted from end to end. So literally communication from the phone to the reader is TLS encrypted. From the reader to the controller board is TLS encrypted. From the controller board to the cloud is TLS encrypted. A second big advantage is going to be that we push updates down automatically. We don't have an additional annual software support agreement. So your system is automatically going to be running the most current version of Openpath. We push updates from the cloud down to the controllers and then all the way out to the readers. And we also run on what's called OSDP compared to Wiegand. So a Wiegand reader, which is what 99% of the readers are that you see in the field, all they do is they read this card and then they send that data upstream. And then that's all that happens with it, where we're bi-directional. So I'm actually able to also push firmware updates down to the reader board, not just the controller board. So that's going to give you a lower cost because every time there's a software update, DataVox is not going to have to roll a truck to come out there and update that system.
Thank you, Rob. I wanted to bring up another one of our customers who had an issue with remote access. So this is not giving a temporary key per se, but this was an after-hours emergency. So, right, whether you're a 24/7 business that works in the service industry, and an employee comes in after hours, they may or may not have access to the facility. So how do you accomplish them getting into the door without you actually having to go up to the facility itself and physically unlocking the door or using your credential? So yes, you could give them a temporary access key, but and all businesses are different on how they operate. But this customer, they wanted to give the ability to be able to have a certain number of people, whether it was their managers, access to the Openpath application to easily unlock a door. So whether the employee calls the individual, emails their manager, tells them, hey, I'm on my way to the office, or I'm on my way to this facility, can you please unlock the door? Rather than having to get up, and I did this for quite some time, before we had an access control system. When we moved into our facility, we moved in quite quickly, and we had to work with lock and keys, and it wasn't fun having to come up, middle of the night to unlock the door. So I can understand the frustration that goes along with this, and I relate to it a lot. So having the ability to unlock the door or grant access or override a schedule all from your phone is pretty unique in this industry. And I like the ease of access. It gave this customer some peace of mind that, you know, the person that they were actually talking to actually got access to the door rather than, hey, I gave my badge to somebody else and, you know, here, just go ahead and use my badge today. All those things are prohibited in access control, but people do that on a daily basis just because it's easy and it's not the way that access control should work. So having a secure way to get access to the building is very top of mind for us, I believe, for a lot of our customers. So with that being said, I think oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so you got the ability to restrict who has the power to unlock from the app remotely. So you can choose maybe you can give that employee access to unlock that door by pushing a button on their phone only if they're in Bluetooth range, or a manager would have the ability to unlock that door from their app no matter where they are, or through the browser as well, or you could send that temporary guest link like you mentioned.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. I think we're out of questions at this time. Is there anything else that Rob or Brian, you guys would like to go over before we close out this webinar? I see some heads shaking. So I think we're at the top of the hour, and I appreciate everybody's time to, you know, and coming to this webinar. We really appreciate it. Like I said, there's two other webinars this week. The next one is on Arctic Wolf. The other one tomorrow is on Verkada. So I hope you guys have the ability to join this. And I want to thank Jessica and the ladies in our marketing team, Jody, for helping us out with this event again. And obviously takes a lot of work to put this together. Appreciate our customers joining. I hope you guys have a safe week. Hope your families are safe during this time, and that you're able to, if you are working remotely, that you have a great setup and are able to do so. So as you can see, I'm in my home office and work as usual for me. So if you guys need anything from us, from DataVox or Openpath, please reach out and we'll be happy to help you guys out. Thank you again.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Right.
Thanks for organizing DataVox.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. Can you hear me okay? My mic
Yep.
seems to have a mind of its own today. All right. Thank you, Rob and Brian. Thanks, Scott. We want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. And as a reminder, the recording link for today's session will be emailed to all attendees 24 to 48 hours post-event. If you enjoyed today's session and would like to hear more, as Scott said, we do offer new webinars weekly. We have 2 more this week. Please check our DataVox website for more information on upcoming sessions. As always, we would love to hear your feedback on our events. Once this webinar has ended, you will be redirected to a survey page. If you could please take a moment to complete the survey before closing out your browser, we would greatly appreciate it. That concludes our session for today. Thank you again to Openpath for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.